My name is Sam and I'm a photographer on the Gold Coast. Welcome to my channel, and I'd like to start off with 5 facts about myself. Number 1, I've been shooting for about 5 years now and I shoot mostly lifestyle content. Number 2, photography has been my side hustle while I'm studying as a PhD candidate in the cancer research field. Number 3, I had my first DSLR while I was in Tokyo for 4 months, and that's where I developed my passion for capturing moments in life. Number 4, I love camera gear. And lastly, I shoot on the Fujifilm X-H2S and the Sony A7 IV, which is what I'm shooting on currently. So more about how I started with photography. I had to complete a clinical placement for my studies, and I found out about a hospital in Tokyo that was taking on students at the time. Their program didn't actually include anything for medical scientists, so I spent several months working with them to establish a new contract so that I could meet the criteria for my placement. And it went from a clinical placement to a short-term research fellowship. Leading up to this, I had 2 choices. I either stayed in Australia and had an easy placement and then just graduated, or I could dive into the deep end, go into another country and see how much I could grow. Something had clicked and I realized that in order to grow, I had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Now, at that time, I had also purchased my first camera, the Nikon D3300, and that just came with the kit lens. I had no idea how to use it, so during my first 4 weeks in Tokyo, I just had the camera on auto and I was just taking photos of absolutely everything. I was just spamming photos everywhere I was going. While working in the hospital, I made friends with these 2 international students, and when we were going to hang out, we found out that we actually lived in the same building. I remember waiting for them to come out, and they brought along these big cameras with like 70 to 200mm lenses, and I was just holding like my little Nikon with the little kit lens, and we were all sort of like laughing about it because they didn't know that I was into taking photos either. We started going out almost every day and they showed me how to shoot in manual and little things about like aperture and shutter. So then the camera came along with me everywhere. So every single morning before going to the hospital, and then when finishing up for the day, I was taking photos in all of the streets and just everything that I could find. I was going on adventures all around Tokyo, and then when I would come back home, I'd balance my time between studying and learning how to use Lightroom for editing. Fast track to the end, I came back to Australia, graduated, and decided to further my studies. And then I didn't touch my camera for like a year. During this time, I was still posting photos of Tokyo like almost every single day, to the point that a lot of people didn't realize that I was actually back in Australia. And then one day, a friend of mine that was wanting to get into modeling messaged me on Instagram and was like, "Hey, I've seen you taking some really awesome photos. Would you like to do a photo shoot?" At the time, all I had shot was just like cars and street. I had never taken portraits. So I thought this could be interesting. So we went ahead, we did the shoot, and I actually managed to get some pretty cool photos. And so from that point on, I started experimenting with different portrait styles. It was always on and off, and I ended up spending more time watching other YouTubers and just researching camera bodies and lenses. It wasn't until about 3 years ago that I actually thought to myself, hey, let's turn this into an actual business. I shot my first wedding, my first commercial shoot, my first everything. Before every shoot, I would be freaking out and I would tell myself, you've overcome every other challenge and leveled up. You've now been presented with an opportunity to go even further, so just go out and make everyone happy. From that point on, I spent a great deal of my time just educating myself, meeting new people, and trying to practice as much as I could with my limited time. Every time I was booked for a job, I would be constantly reinvesting everything back into the business so that I could take on more jobs. These were things like strobes so that I could do event photography, paper backdrops so that I could do headshots and portfolio photos, other lenses so that I could capture a more variety of photos for clients. And I finally feel like I'm in a pretty good place with my business now, and I'm consistently getting work coming in. However, about a year ago, I started to feel my creativity start to decline as I was relying too much on Instagram. When I'd make a new post and barely receive any engagement or views, it often made me feel like that person in a group that tells a joke and no one laughs or acknowledges it. I was focusing too much on how to get more likes and more views and followers that it just kept leading to me getting burnt out. I stopped doing fun creative shoots and mostly focused on just getting paid work. And so I spent the rest of my time just connecting with other creators. I had spent all these years educating myself, and I had all of this theory in my head and experience, and I realized how much I could be helping other people. Soon after, I was helping other professionals in the industry, improving their workflow, their kits, basically answering any questions that they had. I started second shooting a lot more for other photographers and videographers, and I was able to assist with things like helping design the lighting setup for their music videos and what focal lengths they should use, as well as weddings, with not only second shooting but also helping decide where we should go, dealing with the natural light, and a lot of other things like that. I basically gave up on promoting my Instagram. It was draining my creativity and my energy, and I was just at the mercy of the algorithm. So that brings me here. It's time for me to dive deep again and learn something new while also trying to provide as much value as possible. When I started out, I had so many questions, and most of the time I couldn't find the answers that I was looking for, and I had no one that I could talk to about it. So I want to be here. I'm going to be including gear reviews, tutorials, bring you all behind the scenes to my shoots, and even go on adventures. I want this to be the start of a new journey for myself. There's so many things I want to try out. I want to go to other cities, I want to do more street photography, and most of all, I believe this is the best way for me to improve myself. So please hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to creating more videos.